Georgia football has had a lot of success at the quarterback position in the last couple of years, starting with guys like Jake Fromm, Stetson Bennett, and most recently Carson Beck. All three of them have or will go off to the NFL at some point, and Kirby Smart knows what he's doing at the quarterback position and always seems to get his sort of players. This season, though, it looks like there's going to be a change in Athens, as Gunnar Stockton will likely be the starter this year, unless Ryan Montgomery really shows out. Hidden on the roster is a player that nobody's really talking about, and his name is Ryan Montgomery. Ryan Montgomery went to the same high school as a former NFL Hall of Famer and actually broke his records. Montgomery was also somewhat of a prodigy, as he got offered very early on in his high school career and was wanted by a lot of schools, but is now at Georgia. Today, I'm going to quickly introduce you to who this guy is, and we're going to do a quick feature on the rise of Ryan Montgomery. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Ryan Montgomery. Okay, so before we get going though, check out my playlist on 2025 freshman quarterbacks, as so far I've covered Blake Hebert from Notre Dame and Bryce Underwood from Michigan. But now let's go back in time. Just because Ryan Montgomery is a little bit batted up, doesn't mean he could not be a future star. Growing up in the state of Ohio, Ryan was seen as one of the next big things pretty early on, and sort of was a child prodigy-like quarterback. I mean, the guy was offered scholarships by Michigan, Penn State, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, and Toledo as just an 8th grader. He actually first visited Athens, Georgia when he was an 8th grader as well, tagging along with his older brother Luke, who at the time was a 4-star offensive lineman who is now at Ohio State. He remembers going back in time and thinking that this was the place for him. Eventually, he would end up choosing the Bulldogs over both South Carolina and Florida, and he did acknowledge that he wasn't Georgia's #1 target at times. The Dogs really wanted both Matt Zollers and Juju Lewis, but Juju ended up going to Colorado and Zollers ended up going to Mizzou. Montgomery, though, was really solid while he was in high school, as while he was a sophomore, he threw for 1,800 yards and 22 touchdowns, and would bump that up to 3,300 yards and 38 touchdowns as a junior. Montgomery had pretty big shoes to fill, as he ended up going to Findlay High School in Ohio, which is the same place where a little-known recruit by the name of Ben Roethlisberger went. He was a guy who went under the radar, who went to Miami of Ohio, and ultimately will be a Hall of Famer. So yeah, Montgomery ended up having pretty high expectations and shoes to fill, and he would eventually break Ben Roethlisberger's single-game record by throwing for 491 yards and 6 touchdowns in a game. Sadly, though, it was not all sunshine and rainbows, as he would tear his ACL early on during his senior season. He said he ultimately stuck with Georgia because it was a decision that did not involve NIL and was purely football. He said, quote, "Georgia is the standard in college football right now, and their development is second to none. For me, it's strictly football." Okay, so the last time a Midwest quarterback had signed with Georgia was when Logan Gray, a player from Columbia, Missouri, ended up signing there back in 2007, so this is a pretty big deal for Kirby Smart and his staff. Montgomery said he plans to be there for the long haul, as Carson Beck waited his turn to play in Athens, and now it looks like Gunnar Stockton will do the same, he said. Montgomery sees Beck as a great example of how biding your time can pay off, and he is not afraid of following a similar path. Montgomery said, quote, "I'm in for the long haul. Growing up, I always wanted to win, and I hated losing more than I love winning." Okay, so there's not much more to say about him, as he's been a productive player for quite some time, has a good head on his shoulders, and I think has the right mindset. But according to 24/7 Sports, Montgomery was the number 14 quarterback and the 180th best player in the class of 2025, while also gaining a 4-star status. Georgia fans are excited to see what he can do, but he will be rehabbing this year, and he's likely going to be 5th on the depth chart behind a couple of other walk-ons and then Millender. Montgomery's someone to watch out for in the future, and I'm definitely excited to see how he develops. Honestly, it's going to be pretty rare if at all he steps on the field in 2025, as Georgia has a starter in Gunnar Stockton, who's been waiting his turn after tearing up the Georgia high school football scene. He obviously got a couple of chances and a start in the college football playoff, and while some are a little bit skeptical of Stockton, including myself at times, I do think he will be ready this fall, and Georgia will have a really good option in him. If not, you'll have Ryan Montgomery, who came out of the state of Connecticut and has a great arm and apparently might physically be the best quarterback on the roster, but as of now, he's also nursing an injury and will probably be that backup and will get in on spot duty. Behind him, you also have Ezekiel Millender, who is, I believe, a scholarship quarterback who flipped from Boise State to Georgia and joins Ryan in that freshman 2025 class. Either way, I think this guy is a hidden gem, and I'm trying to get through all the top 4-star quarterbacks in the 2025 high school class, so today was a short but sweet feature on Ryan Montgomery, and I think he'll get an opportunity to be the guy for Georgia at some point, but for now, he's just going to have to wait. But what do you guys think? If you're a Georgia fan, what do you think of Ryan Montgomery? Who do you think should win the job? And which freshman or quarterback should I take a look at next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen, including my video about Bryce Underwood. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.